Hey guys, it's Kevin here to break down the push-up. Let's begin. First thing is the setup. So to do a proper push-up, you first must get into a plank position. Get your hands underneath the shoulders or the chest. From this position, think tall with your spine and avoid having an arched lower back. So think about flattening your back by squeezing your butt and then brace your core like you're about to take a punch to the stomach. From here, you're gonna bend the elbows, come down with control, press up to the top. Here are some things to take into consideration. When you're doing a push-up, you're essentially holding a plank. And when you hold a plank, your body should be in a nice, tall, straight line. So how do you know you're in the right alignment? You can, if you look from the side, your ears, your shoulders, your hips, knees, and ankles should all be connected in a straight line. So let's say I'm holding the plank and I have my back arched, then I'm out of alignment. If I'm too flat, then I'm also out of alignment. If the pelvis is correct, but my chest is caving in, then again, my posture is not in correct alignment. So think tall the whole time. With your shoulders, you want to avoid shrugging them. So actively push your shoulders down to the floor. That's called shoulder depression. And throughout the whole push-up, you're maintaining that depressed shoulder position. This is what the shoulders look like shrugged, and this is what they should look like when they're depressed. Shrugged, depressed. Another important component here is shoulder protraction and retraction. So when you set up for your push-up, at the very top, you're going to protract your shoulders. So when you do that, think about pushing yourself away from the floor. That's your starting position. Then as you lower, you're going to retract the shoulders, bend the elbows, and then press up and finish again protracted. Retract to lower, bend the elbows, press, protract. So we talked about shoulder elevation and depression, protraction and retraction. But another important component to the push-up is shoulder external rotation. So that has to do with the shoulders. This is internally rotated. And when they're internally rotated, you'll see that your elbow pits face in towards each other like this. When you externally rotate, they do this. So you can see the shoulders moving. That's the point of origin. You can refer to the elbow pits to know that you're in the right position. If they face forward and up, then you're in an externally rotated shoulder position. We want to avoid this. Elbow pits pointing together. So what does that all look like as one? When you set up, you're depressed, protracted, shoulders externally rotated, locking that into place. Retract the shoulders, bend the elbows, press up and protract. The whole time I'm keeping shoulder external rotation. In terms of hand placement or grip width, if you go wider and you press out here with the elbows flaring out, and it's going to be more pec dominant. If you're pressing with your elbows moving close to the body, then that's going to be more tricep dominant. Now, I would recommend that you choose a grip width that just feels the strongest and most natural for you to start. Another recommendation also is if you do go with an elbows out position, don't go any higher than 90 degrees. That's going to feel very uncomfortable on the shoulders. Okay, I'll take you through the demonstration now. Over here, we're going to use the parallettes. This wider setup with my elbows out, this is going to be very much pec dominant. If we bring the grip in closer, with the elbows traveling close to the body, this is going to be more tricep dominant. Now let's talk about breathing. So with the push-up, as you lower down, you can inhale, and then when you press up, breathe out. So breathe in and out. If you're lifting at a higher intensity, like you're able to do only 2 to 6 reps, then you can inhale at the top, hold your breath, brace, and press, exhale. Then you reset the breath again. Breathe in, breathe out. Here's a common mistake that I see when people do push-ups. This one has to do with elbow placement. When you come down, we want to keep the elbows stacked over the wrist joint and not flaring out like this. This means your shoulders are internally rotated and you're going to feel very weak and it's going to be painful on the shoulder. So stack your elbows over the wrist joint, roughly, and then move in that same alignment. If I go wider, it's the same thing. Elbows just need to stack. And not out here or too close. Another common mistake with push-ups is partial range of motion. So doing something like this. But if you want the full benefit from the exercise, then go full range of motion. And by full range of motion, we're looking for the elbows to bend at least 90 degrees. Lockout at the top, fully protracted. Here's another mistake. Doing the push-ups with the hips piked up or sagging down. What does this mean? Well, it could be a strength issue first, because the body will cheat by either arching the back or piking up, and that just shortens the range of motion that the body has to travel to bring you up and down. Another thing is, you could just not be engaging your core and the rest of your body as much as you need to. Another mistake for push-ups, setting up with the hands too high. So if the hands are past the shoulders, then you're gonna do some weird push-ups. This actually becomes more tricep dominant, but if we're doing a traditional push-up, then your hands should be right under the shoulders or the chest. Here's some extra tips. When you're doing push-ups on the floor, you want to spread your fingers out and grip the floor. That's very important so that you can engage the forearms and it gives you extra surface area and stability. If you're using bars, then you want to grip the bar firmly in your palms. You also want to be mindful of not having your wrists bent like this. So keep your wrists in neutral alignment as you're going through the push-up. Here's another tip for the lockout position. So let's say I'm using bars. In order to stabilize my wrist joint and also provide stability to my elbow, I want to grip firmly. And when I am locked out at the top, I'm not just pushing through the joint, but my forearms are flexed. I'm also engaging both biceps and triceps. So all of these muscles are supporting the elbow joint and they're not just loosely hanging on and I'm pushing through.